This session is practical. Everything you'll see uses EKU's institutional AI tools. Nothing here requires coding or technical expertise. The goal is that you leave knowing exactly what you can try next week. AI is already showing up in our work, whether we asked for it or not. What's missing is clarity. What's allowed, what's useful, and what's actually worth our time. Today is about intentional use, not using AI everywhere. At EKU, we have an AI use in the workplace policy to support staff in using AI confidently and appropriately. It recognizes that AI can be genuinely helpful for everyday work like communication, drafting, and organizing information. The policy doesn't require you to become an AI expert, and it doesn't prescribe a single right way to use these tools. Instead, it gives a framework for responsible, professional use and asks us to apply the same judgment we already use in our work, especially when it comes to data and context. Think of this policy as a guide that helps you decide when AI adds value and how to use it in ways that align with institutional expectations. At EKU, we have institutionally supported AI tools like Gemini and Copilot that are appropriate for everyday workplace tasks such as drafting communication, summarizing information, or organizing content. These tools are covered by institutional agreements and are the best place to start. You may also encounter or choose to use other AI tools that are widely available. Those tools can still be useful for low risk tasks like brainstorming, revising language, or improving clarity, as long as no sensitive, confidential, or protected information is shared. A helpful rule of thumb is this: if the information shouldn't leave EKU systems, it doesn't belong in a non contracted tool. When in doubt, default to Gemini or Copilot. So, what is the best way to find these tools? If you open up any web browser and search for EKU AI Guidance, your top hit should be this web page. When you click on the AI Guidance web page, you'll see that our approved generative AI platforms are listed first. You'll also want to check out the AI use policy, which we can open in another tab to look at later. For now, let's access Microsoft Copilot Chat. If we click on the link, you'll see that you get this helpful welcome screen. You'll want to make sure that you're actually in an institutionally supported account. And so if you go down to this lower left corner and click, make sure that it has EKU and your EKU email address to ensure that you're not accidentally using a personal Copilot account. If we go back to our AI guidance page, we can access Google Gemini in much the same way. Once this loads, notice it says, "Hi Lisa," but if we go up here, notice that's my personal Gmail account. That's a problem. We don't want to use my personal one because it doesn't afford us the same protections, and so we'll want to switch to my other profile, which shows the EKU logo. And so this tells me, notice it's my EKU email address. This is the correct Gemini account to be working in. AI works best when you're clear first. If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, the output will feel generic or wrong. Intentional communication comes before AI. So you always want to ask yourself, what is the goal? Who is the audience? What tone fits? I have rough notes, I know my audience, I know the tone I need. I'm using AI to execute that intention faster, not to decide to do it for me. So let's look at a project that we can accomplish both in Copilot and another one we can accomplish in Gemini. For our first example, we're going to draft an email in Copilot. You need to remind staff about an upcoming deadline. People have missed it before, and you want to be clear without sounding naggy. So why Copilot? It already lives in the Microsoft 365 environment where we do most of our work. We need to set our goal, remind staff of a deadline and prompt action. Our audience is EKU staff colleagues, and our tone needs to be clear, professional, and supportive. So for some brief instructions, I've told the AI that I want it to draft a brief professional email to EKU staff reminding them of an upcoming travel request deadline, and I want it to include the following points. All right, so let's take a second and switch over to our AI. All right, so we're starting a new chat in Copilot, and I'm going to simply copy over everything that we just decided on. And Copilot's going to give us a concise professional draft for the email. So, reminder, travel request deadline, October 3rd. Dear colleagues, this is a reminder that requests must be submitted by October 3rd. Notice the main points here are in bold. Don't feel like you have to copy that formatting over, but it may be a good idea. Please note that late submissions may not be approved. Encourage you to plan ahead to ensure timely processing. That's a pretty good email. And it's already pretty short, but maybe we want to tweak it just a little bit. And we want to revise it to be slightly more concise and to emphasize appreciation for staff planning ahead. All right, even better, just a couple of lines. All right, so that's a pretty succinct email. And notice that you decided the goal and tone before AI wrote anything. Copilot executed your intent. It did not invent it. And you stayed in control of clarity and professionalism. For our next example, we're going to summarize a document in Gemini. Why Gemini? Well, it's really strong at synthesizing and summarizing longer documents, controlling tone, and reliably linking out to authoritative web pages for follow-up details. Before we prompt the AI, we set our goal, audience, and tone. The goal is to alert faculty and staff to key expectations in the AI use in the workplace policy. The audience is EKU faculty and staff. The tone is clear, professional, supportive, and non-alarmist. For our instructions, we want to summarize the attached AI use in the workplace policy in plain language for EKU faculty and staff. We want Gemini to focus on what the policy is for, what types of AI use are generally appropriate, the importance of using good judgment with data and context, and where to go for more detailed or up-to-date guidance. We're also going to limit the summary to one short paragraph. Let's move over to Gemini and paste this information in. Now that I'm in Gemini, I'm going to paste all of my information. So it's a little wonky coming over from the Word document, but we're not going to worry about that. And then we're also going to drop in a PDF of that AI use in the workplace policy. Once that is loaded, we're going to hit Submit. And then the AI should come back with, it's not a super short paragraph, but it does hit the major points. So we've got a new administrative regulation. It's got a framework for using AI to enhance workplace productivity while protecting institutional data. I'll let you finish reading that. And we may want to revise this to include that link to the actual website, the EKU AI Guidance webpage. Let's just try this and see if it can find it on its own. All right, so it pasted it in there as a hyperlink. Let's double check. Okay, so it sent us here, and eventually it gets us to our AI guidance. So I would probably go ahead and copy that and say, update the hyperlink to use this exactly. because we don't want to mislead people. All right, and then if we double check that, notice that this time it went directly to the page. Notice that Gemini here is translating the policy. It's not interpreting the policy. I'm not asking Gemini to make decisions or add new guidance just to make the policy readable for the layperson. It reduces cognitive load because faculty and staff get the headline level understanding without digging through a long document. And that link out matters. Notice that I'm intentionally pointing people to the EKU AI guidance site for details that may change over time. And this is reusable communication. This could go in an email, it could be a Teams post, or it could be a website update with minimal editing. In both cases, our Copilot example and our Gemini example, AI isn't deciding what to say. It's helping you say it better and faster once you've decided the goal, the audience, and the tone. I want you to pause this video for just a couple of minutes so you can try one thing. Not everything, just one thing. Open either Gemini or Copilot and pick something low risk like a draft email, rough notes, or a long message you've already written. Before you type anything, decide 3 things. What's the goal? Who's the audience? And what tone fits? Then ask the AI to help you execute that. You do not need to finish. This is just about getting your hands on it and seeing how it feels. Don't forget to come back and finish watching the video. Most of our workload isn't hard, it's repetitive. This is where AI helps the most, not by replacing people, but by removing friction. If you have emails you've written so many times you could do them in your sleep, or you've copied and pasted an old email and changed the date, this counts. It's totally fair game for AI. If you have questions that you answer repeatedly, often verbatim, these aren't the hard questions, they're just frequent and they interrupt your work. These are fair game for AI. If you run into formatting issues, information that has to be reshaped every time, such as turning emails into meeting agendas or converting notes into summaries or minutes, this is where AI shines. Structure, consistency, and cleanup. A chatbot is just a narrowly defined AI helper. One job, clear instructions, no autonomy, no decisions. It drafts, you decide. Let's look at how to create a chatbot both in Copilot and in Gemini. I originally promised chatbot demos in both Copilot and Gemini, but before we move on, I need to pause briefly to set expectations around Copilot. While Copilot is excellent for drafting, revising, and working directly with content inside tools like Outlook, Word, and Teams, creating standalone chatbots in Copilot currently requires either additional technical development or access to Microsoft Copilot Studio, which isn't broadly available to staff right now. That's not a barrier so much as a reflection of how Microsoft has structured the platform. For most staff workflows, Copilot works best as an in-the-flow assistant rather than a place to build reusable bots. That's why, for this next example, I'm going to switch to Gemini. It allows us to model the same chatbot thinking, clear purpose, defined boundaries, consistent answers, without requiring special access or technical setup. The skills transfer, even though the tools differ. For our next example, let's consider this hypothetical email from Dean Pat to Administrative Assistant Alex. It's an upcoming leadership team meeting, and there's a list of things that need to be covered, but it's sometimes challenging to turn unstructured emails into clean, consistent meeting agendas. So let's see how Gemini, specifically a chatbot in Gemini, can help with this. So why Gemini? It is strong at synthesis, structure, and tone control for longer text. It's also excellent at turning messy input into usable formats. This email, while hypothetical, is intentionally realistic. It's got a vague structure, clear intent, but zero agenda. So this bot is going to be for emails that clearly describe what someone wants to talk about, but still require you to turn that into a formal agenda every single time. So you've got to tell yourself, before I build the chat bot, I want to be clear about what it's supposed to do. The goal is to turn incoming emails into a usable meeting agenda. The audience is internal leadership teams. The tone should be professional, clear, and neutral. And this bot isn't making decisions, it's just organizing information. So to create a bot, I know that I'll need a name. I'm going to call this the Meeting Agenda Assistant. It needs a description so that the user understands what sort of bot they're interacting with. So this chatbot converts meeting-related emails into clear, structured meeting agendas. And then we're going to tell it its role and give it some guidelines. So the role is to convert emails or message and text into clear professional meeting agendas. And I'll let you read those guidelines and agenda format if you're so inclined. All right, back in Gemini, we're going to go up here to Gems, and we're going to create a new gem. So we decided it was going to be our Meeting Agenda Assistant. And here's our description. So this chatbot converts meeting-related emails into clear, structured meeting agendas. Make sure it all got in there. Yep. And then the instructions. So I'm just copying this over. All right. Still messy, but you know what? The AI can actually read that, so I'm not going to take the time to clean it up. And then for knowledge, we don't need a knowledge base because this is really just a structure bot. So it's really just creating structure from chaos. All right, so we're going to save this. All right, so we're going to start our chat. And then I'm going to grab this hypothetical email. And in this hypothetical email, I've pasted it in, and then notice this last line here. Create a meeting agenda from this email, and it's all in there. And let's see how it does. All right, meeting agenda, leadership team meeting, date, time, location, platform, purpose of the meeting, agenda items, fall enrollment updates, budget review, new AI use in the workplace policy, discussion Q&A, next steps or action items. Okay, so that's not too bad. You would want to go back that and compare that to the original email for accuracy, of course. What if we revise this slightly and we want to make sure it's suitable for a 1-hour leadership team meeting and format it for sharing in a Teams calendar invite. Let's see if it can handle that. All right. Look at that. So we've got welcome and intro, 5 minutes, enrollment updates, 10, 15, so we're at 30, 45, 55, 60 minutes. Okay. And then it then asks, would you like me to adjust the time allocations for any specific topic, or shall I draft the next steps placeholder list for you to fill in during the meeting? That looks fantastic. All right. So this really shows Gemini's strength in formatting and context shift. Gemini imposed structure, not content. So notice that Gemini didn't add topics, it just organized what was already there. This replaces formatting work. The thinking already happened in the email, and this just saves us from rebuilding it. And then the output is immediately reusable. This could go straight into a calendar invite or a Teams post with light edits. The human judgment stays central, though. I still decide what stays, what moves, and what gets emphasized, and I double check to make sure everything that my dean wanted in that agenda actually shows up. Intentional automation means choosing wisely. AI is not for everything. and that's a feature, not a failure. We'll automate when we're dealing with tasks that are repetitive, low risk, and where consistency helps. We won't automate when the information is sensitive, there are likely high emotions involved, or it's a high stakes situation. No matter how good the output is, responsibility stays with us. Professional standards don't change just because AI is involved. As you head back to work, you don't need to change everything you do. The goal isn't to overhaul your workflow or suddenly use AI all day. Instead, pick one small thing to try this week. Maybe it's rewriting a routine email, summarizing something long that usually takes more time than it should, or drafting a response you've written dozens of times before. Pay attention to whether it actually saves you time or makes the work easier. If it does, keep it. If it doesn't, you don't have to use it again. That kind of small, intentional experimentation is how confidence builds, and it's exactly what the tools are meant to support. If trying one small thing this week feels doable, and you'd like a place to see more examples like the ones we looked at today, we've created a Working Smarter with AI channel in the Oasis Teams site. This isn't a training course or a requirement, it's a shared space for staff to exchange practical ideas, reusable prompts, and small automations that make everyday work easier. We'll also use the channel to share short updates about AI tools and guidance in plain language without jargon. You're welcome to join, browse, or participate as much or as little as you'd like. The goal is to make it easier to learn from each other and keep using AI intentionally in ways that actually help. As AI becomes more common in our work, the goal isn't to use it everywhere or to use it all the time. It's to use it intentionally in ways that make communication clearer and reduce unnecessary friction in our work. AI can help us be more efficient by handling repetition and routine tasks, but efficiency isn't the point itself. The point is freeing up time and attention for the work that actually needs us. And the work stays human. Judgment, context, professionalism, and care remain central. AI can draft, organize, and suggest, but we decide what's appropriate and what gets sent or shared. You don't need AI everywhere. You just need it where it helps.